Well, good afternoon. You all are looking great and fabulous, and we are here, the voice of business, Gwinnett Chamber, and today we're going to talk small business, big goals. So Joy Mitchell, Joy Mitchell, excuse me, and Charbel Aoun, welcome. Welcome to the show. We are
Thank
grateful to
you.
have you here. And we got a couple of questions. We're just going to talk, have a little bit of fun. Is that good?
Absolutely.
And let
do
people
it.
learn a few things?
Let's do it.
All right, cool beans. So let's start with you telling us a little bit about yourselves and about your business. Joy?
Love it. I'll take it first.
Yes, ladies first. I
Okay.
love it.
I'm Joy Mitchell, CEO of Office Creations. We are a Gwinnett County-based firm, and I was born and raised in Gwinnett County, so Gwinnett has been a part of my story my entire life. Graduate from South Gwinnett, and I just bleed Gwinnett County. So basing our business out of here starting in 2001 was never a question. 23 years in business, and we specialize in the interior built furnishings. So anything within the built four walls, any spaces, we furnish it. From higher ed, healthcare to workplace, corporate, hospitality, the whole 9 yards. That is where we specialize in the built interiors. And that is a little bit about OC.
That's exciting. South Gwinnett High School. We got to talk about that.
Go Comets.
Come on, Comets.
That's right.
And Mr. Aoun.
I'm kind of aging myself, or rather going in the opposite direction, because a proud Mountain View Bear of 2014.
There you go.
I am a proud Gwinnetian myself, and I am the founder and executive director of the Georgia First Generation Foundation. It's a nonprofit that is celebrating 9 years in supporting our first generation community here in Georgia. And that means providing the programming, the scholarship opportunities, and just the guidance that, as we like to say, makes the first generation the next generation. Coolest motto. So lots of good stuff.
That's awesome. I can't wait to dig into a little bit more of this, but based on what you just talked about, so both of you are Gwinnetians. So I want to start with you on this one. What prompted you to start your 501c3?
Yeah. Georgia First Gen is this idea that because we are the first, we shouldn't be alone in whatever we want to do when we graduate high school or continue our ventures. And I was the first in my family to, go to high school, graduate high school, go to college. And there was no big brother, big sister that told me to start a nonprofit or to pursue higher education. And I had to figure it out for myself. And what makes it so tough is the idea that because we had to pursue this venture on our own, we are nervous of the failures that we would have to pursue, of the obstacles we would have to overcome. And for a lot of folks, that makes it more difficult to even want to start your own business, to pursue whatever degrees you want to pursue. And I just took the leap of faith and went to college. And now I'm a fourth-year pharmacy student. I took the leap of faith and said, there's not enough resources for first-generation students. I'm going to start a student club that would become the nonprofit that it is today. And being as well-connected as I am now, I look back, we've been doing this almost 10 years. Never in a million years would I think that I'd be sitting in a room with you lovely ladies talking about it, let alone actually doing the work of supporting younger professionals and becoming the successful individuals that they ought to be and seek after. So that's why I do it.
Hey guys, I'm David Greer, and I'm the publisher of The Guide to Gwinnett, and we are so excited this year to be working with the Chamber to produce what we think is going to be the biggest, best, most comprehensive guide to Gwinnett ever. Going to be a lot of pages in there that tout the Chamber's services and basically just a pro-business cheer for all you guys out there working day to day, making Gwinnett what it is. So I invite all of you to step up and advertise. We've got some special deals for Chamber members, exclusive deals, special discounts. Call on us if we can help you. Look forward to having you in this year's Guide to Gwinnett.
Awesome. And I've got another question along with that because we're going to get back to you, Joy, in a second.
Sure.
So when you talked about putting the nonprofit together and the impact you wanted to make, what were some of the outcomes that you wanted to see with other first gens?
Well, truly, when we first started it, it was a student club. So for us, it was more so providing a resource at, go Panthers, at Georgia State University, right? And because of the time that we started this student club, it was cool to see the impact, not just at the university, but the students that wanted to come to Georgia State because of the family that we were building at the university. And once I graduated college in 2018, talk about the impact, Now there are folks that are reaching out saying, so how do I bring this to my high school? So how do I bring this to this university? And though there isn't a student club focused on first gen as much, it transformed into a nonprofit that now is able to serve the entire state of Georgia. And I think that impact in and of itself tells you that without starting that organization and just bearing fruit of what can be precipitated from all that, who knows what could happen if we never started that student club in the first place. It's that off chance moment of just taking that leap of faith and going in head held high, not worried about what obstacles may be in the way, just to see what happens in the long run.
I love your leap of faith mentality. I love it. I love
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
So Joy.
So good.
So tell us about you. So have you
OC.
been running business? Have you been
Yeah.
running a business since the womb? I mean,
Literally, 23 years at this point. So it's hard to remember back to that stage, but the leap of faith is so it, right?
Yeah.
It's surrounding yourself with the right people that believe in the vision of where you're going, and that really relationships are the foundation of the business, right? And businesses, how we engage with businesses and how that relationships mold it has transformed the vision of Office Creations, right? So let's think about 4 years ago, post-COVID, or 4 years ago when COVID hit.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we're in the workplace business. Everyone quit going to the office, right? So it gave us a true kind of second vision for the organization and the
Right.
business, and that's been really exciting to play out. So as we look at where we are today, we implemented something called EOS. Ultimately, it's the Entrepreneurial operating system that allowed us to kind of recreate the vision for Office Creations. And it aligns the organization to one vision. So you look out 10 years, you look out 3 years, 1 year, and then you create this B.H.A.G goal of where is OC going to be in 10 years. And we said we wanted to be the leading integrator for furnishings for spaces, right? So what does that look like and how do we get there? It's been exciting to recreate what that vision is and really implement it out. So I think back to what you were asking is like, where did it start? Where did it start? And then continuing to evolve that vision as things happen, because life happens, right? COVID happens, or the next level of the organization evolves, right? It's a continual evolution of redefining that vision and getting the organization to back it and drive it.
It's kind of crazy because the opportunity to speak to someone in Office Creations, and then you have a nonprofit focused on higher education. You're like, where's the synergy, right? Like, how do you get these two people sitting in the same room to do stuff like this? And it's creating opportunities for others.
Impact of what we leave for the legacy of who and how we impact them.
Right. Absolutely.
It's exciting.
you guys are leaving impact, and there's some generational bridges that I wanna address. So you said B.H.A.G. B.H.A.G has been something that has been near and dear to my heart. Tell the folks listening, what is a B.H.A.G?
Big, audacious, hairy goal. And you got to get it. And you got to
Yes.
get everybody around a B.H.A.G, right? And what is that? And it drives the evolution of the impact with your people. So we talk about our B.H.A.G, we talk about our 10-year goal, and there is clarity in that then creates the opportunity of impacting the people that we are touching. And that is what every day I wake up and I'm like, how can we continue to drive the next level of leadership within the organization, within your organization, within OC? Because that is the impact that we are going to leave. The legacy of what OC is in the people and how we impacted the community. So that's what's been, I would tell you, through this next evolution of OC has been so fun to wrap your arms around the leadership side of it.
Yeah. And now I have to go back to my team at Georgia First Gen and talk about B.H.A.G, and they'll look at me crazy.
And
I'm
you'll
like,
have so much fun.
I'll have so much fun doing
Oh,
that.
Well,
that's
because
the
now
dream.
you get to take that, because a B.H.A.G is something that every business should have, right? Because you should always be reaching higher and going deeper. So now you get to show us what that looks like within your circle and your sphere of influence.
I am super excited about that.
Awesome. We can't wait to see what that looks like. So I know that I'm skipping around a little bit here, but you've got some letters behind your name because you've got some alphabet soup in there. So talk to us about that woman-owned thing you got going
friend,
on.
You're so sweet. Yeah, we have WeBank, WBNC. WeBank, we're women-owned, 100% women-owned.
Love
and
it.
that is what I truly believe that kind of God's gift of that is to say, hey, how can we continue to open and just break doors and barriers for women in the next generation of being able to lead? And I will always say that the reason I'm sitting here today is I look back and say, what are the women and who are the women that impacted my life so incredibly much? And I think back to the people like Tammy Shoemate, Terry John Dahl, Judy Waters, Andrea Moore, which is my dear precious mother. The list goes on, but those are the women that truly broke the barriers for women today to be able to have a seat at the table.
Yes.
And when you said alphabet soup, I thought WeBank, I thought MBA, I thought, what is that? Because I am very much a first generation in the sense of it took me a long time to get across that finish line for my
Right.
degree. And as soon as I did it, the people that believed in me said, hey, listen, if you want a seat at the table, you need to be able to go back and get that MBA. And I went kind of through the nights and weekends and graduated from the University of Georgia with my MBA. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Actually, my executive MBA. But what that did was it gave me a seat at the table to drive the next opportunity to bring the next women with me. And over the past 72 hours, I've spent the weekend with 3 young ladies that are in their late 20s. And what I kept telling them is you have a seat at the table and you need to make that known and you need to drive that opportunity. So it's exciting to see how women are starting to really have a voice and be able to lead. But if you look back and we say it's to the people ahead of us. So I just pray that I'm able to continue to drive that example and break barriers for people and women that are behind me.
And that leads us to the next question. And we're going to get back to you, Charbel, I promise. But talk to us a little bit, and I want this to come from both of you. What were some of the early challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
I would tell you immediately off the cuff for me, I would say is credibility. And what I mean by that is when you are really starting and have 0 relationships or experience under your belt, you have to have somebody that's willing to take a risk on you and take a chance with you. And I immediately think back to Bartow Morgan and Brand Bank and him giving Office Creations an opportunity at one bank branch. And that one bank branch has led to us having partnered and being partnered with him on multiple ventures, from Georgia Banking Company to just multiple opportunities because he was willing to give somebody a chance and have a seat at the table. And so credibility was one of the things that I think that when I sit down and I say, what are really the challenges? And I would tell you, even as we grow and evolve, those are still, that's the next barrier is what is that next opportunity? And I think it all boils down to relationships of people that are willing to give you a chance. Because you know you can perform.
Yes.
You know you can get them there. You know that you have the operational excellence to make it happen, but you need somebody that just believes in you to give you the chance. So that would probably be my biggest barrier. Is just kind of understanding and getting credibility at the beginning stages.
And you know what's interesting is that on my end, our nonprofit is, I know you'll like to hear this, we're all minority-based groups, right? So for us, it's about understanding how to recognize change, implement change, and sustain change within the environment that we're in. And I think credibility is such a big factor in that as well, because I'm always the youngest in the room. Always the youngest in the room. And what's crazy...
You will get old like me, though, one day, and then you're not. And you're like, oh, my God, you were born when?
I won't share it for the audience members. No, I'm kidding. But being the youngest in the room makes it crazy because people will not look at you the same until you have to prove yourself. And I know that you've probably had to go through a sheer number of experiences where you have to define who you are every single time you're in a meeting. And sometimes it can be exhausting. And when do you get to overcome that exhaustion? You never do. Because there's always new, I hate to say threats, but there are always opportunities in which people will question that credibility. Sure. And for me, as a Lebanese American who's always the youngest in the room, when do I get to say there's enough change that's happened to where we don't question that anymore? And in the nonprofit space, you will never see that go away anytime soon, only because there's not enough people willing to take on that challenge.
I've got to integrate something here. You mentioned some names that are very near and dear to me. You mentioned Tammy Shoemate. You mentioned, so the Shoemates. When I moved here, my daughter and I, it's been almost 17 years ago, Greg Shoemate is who I met. Greg Shoemate said, write your job description. I'd been in banking for 20 some odd years at that time. I said, who says write your job description? And I was looking at myself as a brown woman, but I was looking at myself as a businesswoman. He said, write your job description. And he then took me to meet Bartow Morgan. And then I became their community development officer. Greg Shoemate has been the greatest champion for me as an African-American female, because he said to me when I met him, I had just lost my husband. And he said, I see you. I see the things that you can't see in you. So I will always say that sponsorship matters. Not mentorship, but sponsorship. Because a sponsor can walk you in the room, validate you,
2
sit you
seconds.
there you go,
Yes.
and say this is your seat at the table. So I give both of you mad crazy kudos for just the tenacity that you have. So this is good stuff. Are we having fun yet?
Yeah.
We've been having fun from the start. What are you talking
Okay,
about?
all right. So here we go. Okay, all right. So let's talk a little bit about strategies, right? So strategies. What strategies have you been or have been key to you both growing your businesses, and how do you utilize partnerships? How do you utilize partnerships in the small business world for you, because you're a nonprofit,
Right.
and then the B2B for you?
So our nonprofit success comes from what I like to call our trifecta of peers. We have our high school students, we have our college students, and then we have our community partners, right? So we target the high school students because we want them to learn how do we advance into the next steps of our journey. We partner with our college peers and our college students because they are the ones that can pour into the high school students, or we can continue their professional development, right? And then there's our community partners. The actual, I would like to say, the base of this triangle, that without our community partners, we cannot teach the college students what journeys are available, and we can't teach our high school students what opportunities can even exist. And I think what makes us such masters in our craft of putting these three together is the continuous outpouring of it's always for our community and it's always for the students. And knowing how to balance that has made it so impactful. The only other thing I can think about in terms of strategy is that our organization is a volunteer-based organization. No one, including myself, gets paid for the work that we do, which means that every volunteer that is on our team is doing it because they are passionate about the project. And I am so grateful for the board of directors that we have. I am so grateful for the leadership team that we have, because day in and day out, they always prove to me that our community is always stronger together.
100%.
100%. So I want to ask you a question as a nonprofit, because I've
Sure.
got nonprofit in my blood as well.
Of course.
So right now you are not being paid. I know that you're going to pharmaceutical school and you graduate when?
I graduate in May, which is the
Woohoo!
scary. Thank you. I appreciate
Yes.
that.
Good for you.
So
Thank
from
you,
a
thank you.
strategic business standpoint, because we all know here that a nonprofit is a charitable organization.
Absolutely.
But what strategies and plans do you have to begin to generate revenue for the organization that
sure.
will sustain you long term?
So the first thing that we always talk about is the fundraising and the sponsorships, right? We cannot hold events if we do not have such close networks with our communities. This is not a shameless plug, but I'll call it a shameless plug. Every November, we host a leadership summit at different universities across the area. And we partner with the universities very closely, because not only is it a way for us to bring students to the university, it's a chance for the universities to highlight them. For years, we've been able to work with universities like Georgia Gwinnett College, the University of North Georgia, and PCOM Georgia here in Suwanee, Georgia, right? And what is beautiful is that these universities extend the extra mile to give these students the experiences. Speaking with professors at the universities, getting to check out the dining halls, using the classroom spaces, right? Those are the sorts of partnerships that can go way more than just providing the funds to run an organization. Not only that, it is the communication that you can have with our community in hosting benefit galas, in hosting fundraising efforts and community initiatives, and just knowing that our conversation is not just the idea of where does the money go, it's more so how much are you willing to contribute to make a difference? And I think that frame of reference and that change in conversation saying it's not what you can provide, it's how much do you think will make the impact, will always let not just community members want to donate, but to sustain that donation.
And Joy, I have a question for you. So as a small business, as a for-profit organization, do you all ever factor into, and I heard you talk about an acronym, it was the EOS.
EOS, yeah.
So is there a strategy in there to support organizations like Charbel's Mission Priority? Okay.
Absolutely. So I think at the heart of OC, everything we do is surrounded by people, right? And how we impact people and the feeling we create as an organization the moment someone walks into the space, as the moment they interact with us, right? The people is our strategy.
Yeah.
And that in the sense of there is no strategy, it's relationships. So yes, in fact, last year we have launched a new company called Recreations, and Recreations is to recycle, reuse, and repurpose furnishings that can support nonprofits.
Wow.
We reduce landfill, and it's our sustainability, it's our commitment to results as a community partner.
That's awesome.
So Recreations now is leading the way in the sustainability and nonprofit support for us. It is our arm, Office Creations' arm of being able to give back. So, example, we just decommissioned a full floor of furniture that is beautiful and it is 100% good furniture. And we were able to come back and donate to 8 Atlanta PD stations and furnished 8 police stations with the furnishings through Recreations at no charge.
Wow. That is amazing.
And these police officers in Atlanta had Home Depot like buckets as seats. The impact of Recreations and the organization to be able to give back and reduce landfill and our commitment to sustainability is just the beginning of what we're trying to do. So we as an organization have a huge heart for nonprofits.
Absolutely.
And how do we continue to give back and serve that way? Recreations is the arm that we've kind of developed to be able to say, hey, we want to be a partner with that. And how do we come alongside them and support and help make them successful? I always say if we can just be a simple step in someone's story, if we can be a stepping stone, the legacy that, again, we're trying to create an impact on people will forever be impacted, right? So I think back to another person, Dr. Jean Joseph.
Yes.
She has been a huge stone, a stepping stone in my life, not for particularly business, but for women leaders of understanding where we belong and how relationships matter and how we can cultivate and really create the next generational impact. So all that to say is nonprofits are a huge piece of my story and my heart. And I will continue to lead from Office Creations of trying to give back and really play a part of that.
I love that. ESG loves you, environmental social governance. They love you.
Ladies and gentlemen, did anyone get goosebumps during that speech? I just wanted to point that out.
Like the simple step in someone's story, that's powerful. It's powerful and profound. So let's move on to talking about others and what advice you could give others, starting a nonprofit, starting a for-profit. So what advice would you give somebody looking to start a nonprofit, and for you, Joy, looking to start a business? And we'll start with you, Joy.
Fail fast. Fail fast. If it doesn't work, change it. I tell my kids that. If it doesn't work, change it. Nothing is forever. Yes, our goal is forever, but the reality is besides Jesus and my husband, nothing's forever. So if it doesn't work, you change it, right? So fail fast. That would be my number one advice. And my second would be is find your CFO, your banking partner, because they can create success. They can make money work for you, and they can predict and drive just the success of your story through planning. Partner with a bank, partner with the CFO that really creates and knows your vision and can create the financial backing to get you there. That would be mine.
Those are two good ones. A rising tide lifts all boats. Yes.
Has anyone seen the movie Kung Fu Panda? I promise there's a reason for this.
No, my kids have, though.
Okay.
Tell me, what is it?
So there's a quote, yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery, but today's a gift, and that's why it's called the present.
Oh, that's good.
Don't ask me how
Say that one
and
more
why.
time.
Yesterday's history, Tomorrow's a mystery, but today is a gift, and that's why it's called the present. So that has stuck with me since watching that movie some odd years ago, because I look at starting the nonprofit and sustaining the nonprofit as being present in the moment. We can make our goals, we can make our strategic plans, we can forward think whatever we want to do, but who can expect all the challenges that can come ahead of us? If you can predict COVID, if you can predict financial, instability in society, if you can predict all the changes that happen on a day-to-day basis, you don't need to be working in nonprofit space. You need to be in some other role that I would say is ungodly, right? But the point is, being present means so much more, because then you can truly see the actual work that has to be done. And I think in the nonprofit space, that means knowing what you want to pursue is very much so different than wanting to make a change in the world that you see.
Nice. This is
true.
great conversation, you all. So those were some great talking points. Kung Fu Panda, okay, on my watch list.
Right?
So as we continue to unfold, so we're in Q4. Can you believe it? We are in
No.
Q4. I
Where
can't
does
either.
it go?
I feel like after COVID, everything just went fast forward, right? So what do you both think the future holds for small business, for nonprofit, but the two connected?
I think they need to go hand in hand.
The fact that you started a sustainability arm for your business, I think, is the coolest thing, because that's recognition of knowing that it goes hand in hand. And I think if lots of other organizations can find ways to tap into that, finding ways of using the resources you already have, but turning it into an actual impact, or turning it into methods where you can say, oh, this is how I can connect with my community. Not only are you looking at it from the for-profit perspective of generating revenue, creating, whatever products or services you may have, now I'm actually saying there are community members that can benefit from this and actually get poured back into this service. I think one of the great examples would be how our nonprofit has done lots of programming over the years that we now actually see college students and young professionals come back and teach workshops and be volunteers on our end. And even better, some of our development department are actually, folks that work at the Big Four accounting firms, and they piloted financial literacy workshops.
Yeah.
So now they're offering opportunities where we can say, look, I can find ways in which you can benefit from the financial perspective, and there are opportunities where we can actually make you go into banking, go into childhood literacy, go into knowing how to figure out the STEM field, because STEM in and of itself is a conversation I can have on another podcast.
talking about the dance, because recognizing when there is margin, the mission that you've created to partner is it can be funded in that way, shape, or form. But there's got to be a whiff from y'all of what's in it for me. So what's the wind that's blowing back and forth, right? So I want to challenge you with this. So as we talk about what you're looking forward to in 2025, let's talk about this dance right here.
Right.
So what does this dance look like for you all? What kind of quantifiable outcomes could you all develop together? And just give me one.
I would say immediately, how can I support you and your nonprofit organization from a furnishings perspective, right? Is there spaces within your educational sitting areas, right? Is there certain things that we could do to support that, right? That could be a huge key piece of that.
And I think on my end, if I think about it from the perspective of we're about to reach 1,000 students that we've supported by next year, and I think in the 9 years that we've done it, we've never once talked about a field like yours, sustainability and environmental science. So you've just taught me that there's another avenue of success after high school that is untapped. And now finding ways to bring in partners like you to teach younger adults about the whole entire world of sustainability.
Sustainability design, right? The whole prospect of understanding, hey, there are different and exciting fields, right? And how we can engage with that and create the synergy where they're wanting to be the first gen graduate, right? And truly partnering with that from internships, right? We just hired a GGC intern who's just started today, was her first day. And it was just listening to her story, I just was like, GGC is making an impact.
Oh, yes.
It is so exciting. She is brilliant. She is smart. She was confident. I just was like, you go. But how do we partner, right, to create those internships and opportunities and shadow days and tour days? And we just toured a group of 30 students from Gwinnett Tech from interior design program, right? How can I take your people and cultivate a drive and passion to finish that degree?
Absolutely.
Or start the degree, or get excited about trying to get a degree, right? And creating the synergy of that excitement around it and what it can hold.
And I think we also have to be passionate at the idea that sometimes getting a degree may not be an end goal for some folks.
Yep.
And I'll never forget the story of how someone, and I say someone, but a student came up to me a number of years ago and said, Charbel, I want to become a pilot. How do you make it happen? I'm like, well, I can't teach you how to fly. That's one thing. But what I can do is tell you that there are opportunities to become a pilot and giving them that direction, because there is more to having a life that's well lived than just a 4-year degree.
Oh, well, let's talk about it. So I went to multiple schools. We started and tried a few times, right? And I always said this, a degree is not for everyone. And we need to know what a technical degree looks like. We need to understand how to just support and do programming and certifications. That is just as important to all of us as a degree, and really just understanding and helping people drive a path of success of what they define as it, right? And everybody's story is different.
Exactly.
It took me 3 schools to finish, right? But guess what? I got that degree and I have a seat at the table just like anybody else, right?
Amen
and
to that.
really teaching the story. If it doesn't work, try again. If it doesn't work, try again. If it doesn't work, I'll never forget literally getting my diploma, and I had 5 kids screaming, Mom. And I was like, I just sobbed. Everybody's like, why is this lady crying? They were like, why did you go back to school? I wanted it. I wanted to know that I could get a degree and have that no one could take away from me.
Absolutely.
So driving that it is, everybody's story is a little different, and how can we get everybody just to their story?
It's crazy. It's Dr. Charbel come May 2025. Right?
Can we celebrate you then?
Absolutely.
Yes, we're going to do a
right?
bottle of champagne pop for that.
But
yes,
that's the idea that we're saying. Like, if we're wanting to give
Yes.
support back to the community, we want these small organizations to have these big impacts. How do we do it if we're not taking the baby steps and not taking those little thresholds that we need to cross to get there,
And
right?
celebrating them.
And celebrating them. Sometimes we forget to celebrate.
Yes.
I humble myself way too much on not celebrating enough.
So we need to celebrate the little things. I just was reading Brene Brown's book, Dare to Lead, and it talks about celebrating the small things, because if you're always waiting for the big thing, you're not celebrating, right? You got to
Yep.
just cha-cha and dance and celebrate the little things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that I've been thinking. I'm like, we just need to that was a win. Celebrate it. Good job, kids.
Because
Right?
that's the gratitude factor.
Right.
It
That's how you
is.
dig a deep well of gratitude.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You're right.
Yes, I love this. You guys are amazing. And casting vision is what you're both doing, celebrating your baby steps. But I love something that you said. You gotta advance where you are for you. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit there, right? But also, somebody else's journey is not your journey.
Amen.
And I think that's amazing. But I also see that the two of you are creating sustainable communities because you're committed to creating sustainable people. My granddaddy used to say education's not for everyone, but everybody's been given a God gift, and you have to put your hand to the plow, and you have to do what God's called you to do. And that's how you can create sustainable income that generates wealth. Period.
You're getting
3 T's.
For the audience members, I'm snapping. Okay, I'm sorry.
And I just did the T's. So we're about to wind up here, and this has been a really robust and wonderful conversation because I just love the spiritual aspect of where we've been and where we're going. But let's talk about any final thoughts that you have for the folks that are listening. To you as a We Banker, as a woman-owned small business, as someone who went back to school, and your 5 babies were cheering you on, and you, sir, as a first gen. So what are some parting thoughts?
I'm going to say grit. Grit, grit, grit. Y'all, you have to have it in your soul. And God gave you the innate drive. That is a gift. Use it in the present.
Yes.
And use the grit. People can get there. You can get to the door and it doesn't unlock. Maybe you just have to push it, right? You don't have to just turn the knob. Like the door's there. And then if you get to the end of it and do a U-turn and go the other way. It's not the end of the road, right? So grit, perseverance, we got to do the 1% that 99% don't do. And so if you can teach once you get to the door, just turn the knob. Even if it doesn't look like it's going to open, that grit will get you farther than anything.
So you said grit, not girls
Grit.
raised in the South.
That's
but you're
right. I'm
you're
talking
about that
grit.
grr.
I'm talking about get in there and get it done.
Okay,
Yes,
all right.
ma'am.
Okay.
I wish I can connect with that, but
It's
honestly,
okay, you
I can't. But they say that if opportunity doesn't knock, you build the door.
Yeah.
Right? Comedian, Milton Berle, something like that. And if I were to talk about Kung Fu Panda, I would talk about making doors, right? It's a great TED Talk. Build that door, whatever that door may be. And that means don't do it alone. We talked about our sponsors. We talked about our mentors. But it
great.
means also having our advocates, our coaches, right? There's the personal board of directors that we need to build.
What was the word you used? Not champions. You said who gets a seat at the table.
Oh my God. Sponsors.
Sponsors.
Yes, sponsors.
Yes.
Sponsors. That's
So
it.
making sure that don't go into anything alone.
Yep.
And make sure that whatever you're trying to do, opportunity will come so long as you build the doorknob, and all the pieces to make it happen.
True.
Yes.
That's good stuff.
Good job.
Good stuff. Thank you all so much for this conversation because this has been cathartic and it's been food for my soul. This is called that chicken soup for the soul kind of thing.
Yes.
So I think as we leave, we did lean to the right, we did lean to the left, and we leaned into the community and we connected the community with business. Didn't we do that?
We sure did.
Did it.
Thank you.
Done.
I appreciate y'all.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.